So the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, is set to come back to the Carolina Panthers. He just signed a 2-year extension, reportedly worth $8 million, with $6 million guaranteed. Pretty good for Andy Dalton, man. He's been in the league for quite some time, and he really proved to be a pretty good mentor for Bryce Young this past year. And when he got in there on the field, when Bryce was really struggling early on, he stepped in there and he looked really, really good. And I just feel like he brings a lot to that locker room and to Bryce Young. They have a really good dynamic going there, especially during the middle part and the end of the year. And I'm actually pretty excited to see what Bryce Young and Canales and the Panthers have in store for the 2025 year. Because when Bryce Young came back as the QB1, I thought he was dead in the water. I thought the Panthers were going to trade him this upcoming offseason. I thought he was just completely done as the starter there in Carolina. But he came back and he looked pretty good, man. He almost beat the Chiefs and he almost beat the Super Bowl champions, the Eagles, on the road. They should have won that game, except the receiver dropped the ball there at the end. So, really impressive stretch for them at the end of the 2024 season, and very optimistic of what they could accomplish in this upcoming season. Let me know if you like the signing. Let me know if you're a fan of Andy Dalton at all. I always think it's pretty impressive how some starting quarterbacks can always evolve into these mentor backup roles later on in their careers. I just think it's a testament to their character, because a lot of guys have big egos and not a lot of guys are willing to be the mentor or the backup QB. So it's pretty clear Andy Dalton is a pretty cool guy, obviously a great teammate, and the Panthers and Bryce Young are extremely lucky to have him. Now, as far as the Carolina Panthers go for potentially being competitive in the 2025 season, I feel like the NFC South is kind of a sneaky division going forward, because now in Atlanta you have Michael Penix being the QB1 there. I'm not really sure how the majority of NFL fans feel about Michael Penix, but I was really, really impressed with him in the few games he got to play there at the end of the season. Honestly, man, if they just would have started Michael Penix just a week or two earlier, no question about it, the Falcons would have made the playoffs. And, I would be really excited to see what he could do in a playoff situation. So I think the Falcons are going to be good in the year 2025. The Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield are always competitive. As long as they have Baker, Mike Evans, a pretty good defense. I know that defense struggled down the stretch, but you still have some pieces there to kind of steer the ship. And I do like their RBs. Bucky Irving had a really impressive rookie season, and I expect him to continue to grow as a player. So 2 playoff caliber teams right there in the NFC South. And as far as the Saints, Kellen Moore's first year, apparently Derek Carr is going to be in a quarterback competition. He's not going to be the automatic QB1 come week 1. I don't really think that's a playoff team. I don't think that team's going to be competitive. So as far as the Panthers being competitive and potentially making the playoffs in the 2025 season, definitely an uphill battle. I don't really see the Panthers, at least right now, being a better team than the Falcons and the Buccaneers. But who knows? Maybe they have a great draft, and maybe they have a low-key great free agency period. And, maybe Bryce Young continues to grow and to be that true number 1 overall draft pick, So if you're a Panthers fan, let me know how you're feeling going into next year. Are you optimistic that they could make a playoff run, just make the playoffs, or do you think they're still a year away from really constructing the roster and making it competitive? to play in January and whatnot? Let me know in the comments below. Now, in my opinion, a big priority for the Panthers, yet again in back-to-back off seasons, is to get Bryce Young a legitimate weapon. They brought in Deontay Johnson last year, hoping that he was going to be that guy for Bryce Young, but it just never worked. The chemistry was just off, and it just wasn't a good match for both parties. And they do have two good young wide receivers in Xavier and Jalen Coker. So if they could get a true number one that's been in the league for a minute, I really feel like that would be beneficial to everyone on that offense. You know, to add a veteran in there that could teach those two guys something, I feel like that would elevate not only Bryce Young's game, but their game as well. There have been rumors of the New York Jets potentially trading Garrett Wilson. I'm not sure if those rumors are going to be true, but a team that has been linked to acquiring Garrett Wilson has always been the Panthers. So I wouldn't hate that move at all. I'm a big fan of Garrett Wilson, and if he hypothetically does get traded, I want to make sure he's going to a guaranteed 100% good team with a good quarterback, because I really feel like Garrett Wilson could be a top 5 wide receiver in this league if he's linked up with the right guy. I'm sure he would do pretty well with Bryce Young, but then again, man, there is still some unknown with Bryce Young and his play. Like I said, and like we all saw, he stepped in there halfway, midpoint in the season, and he looked really good. But we still have to see if he could be that guy from week 1 to week 17. We just haven't seen that yet from Bryce Young. So I wouldn't hate that if they could acquire Garrett Wilson. But regardless, they need to add a wide receiver. And Chris Godwin is set to become a free agent. The Bucs aren't interested in franchise tagging him. So to add Chris Godwin, to take away a key player from your division rival, is never a bad thing. And he'd be highly motivated to play the Buccaneers twice a year. I wouldn't hate that move. Would I give him a huge contract? Absolutely not. But Chris Godwin, Xavier, Coker, not a bad wide receiver room right there, man. And another big priority for the Panthers is fixing their run defense. The Panthers finished last in rushing yards per game, so they definitely need some help in the trenches and a pass rusher as well. Besides Clowney, a year ago, they really didn't have that much else on that defense. So getting a pass rusher, helping with that run game, that run defense, and adding a legitimate weapon for Bryce Young, the 3 priorities for the Panthers going into this offseason. Let me know what you think they're going to do, and are you optimistic for Bryce Young and the future of this team? Let me know in the comments below. If you made this far, please subscribe and like the vid. It would help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.
The talent of the players and the coaches helped them out, and they got it done. Coming to the line at the 27. The Bears lined up in the nickel. 1st and 10. Oh, the receiver turns around and defends the pass and takes away what would have been a pick. Got to give the defense a lot of credit there, don't you, Jim? They are all over the receivers, all over the field, nowhere to throw it, and it just results in an incompletion. Got hit on release.
Number 8 has his pass ball incomplete.
After the incomplete pass, it's 3rd down. Out of the shotgun formation. Down for another reception. The Chargers on their offensive play sheet, they don't have many plays for 3rd and long situations, but that is a really nice job that time by the offense, the quarterback. They pick up the 1st down. That'll get you going.